What I'm going to be looking at today is problems with leaves of your plants, especially on things like peppers and tomatoes, and what the plant is trying to tell you depending on the way the leaf is curling, because certain problems can be quite easily fixed if you know what you're looking for and how to remedy that problem as well. So we'll go through a few of those things. So the first thing that we'll look at is leaves that are pointing upwards like this, especially on young plants. Instead of being outward like they should be, sometimes you'll see them pointing upwards. Now that occurs quite often with plants that you've got growing indoors. It's because they're not getting enough light, so they're trying to reach towards light. That also causes legginess and stem stretching. But if you see any of your plants indoors with leaves that look like that, it is basically because there's not enough light for them. Another example is when your leaves roll up. They just roll in at the edges like that, both sides. A curled effect, not completely inward, but just around the edges of your leaves. The reason for that could quite simply be overwatering. If you do see that roll on the leaf, obviously take your plant out, see if it's really wet in the bottom of that container, because that is going to cause root rot as well. So if the edges of your leaves are slightly curled and a little misshapen as well, that could be something called edema. And you'll be able to verify that if you look under the leaves of your plant, because you'll see tiny little like crystal-like dots under your leaves, and the leaves will start to become misshapen as well. So it's basically a water retention problem. And to fix that one, obviously you need to take the plant out and check that it's not completely saturated, and you need to dry that plant out or it will get worse. Also, if your leaves are curling downward and they've got a slight yellowing to them, then that is definitely overwatering. And what you need to do in that circumstance is repot that plant. Because if you're seeing the yellowing, it's having a really adverse effect on that plant. So take the plant out, put it in fresh compost, and then leave it alone and don't water it for 2 days. That should fix that problem. If you've got any type of curling at all on the leaves, and it seems like there's damage to the leaf as well, then that will be a pest or a fungal infection. And you'll need to identify that to which it is. We'll do an old video on that later down the line, when we get to summer, when this starts to happen more regular, especially on peppers and tomatoes. And if your leaves are curling up also and they're slightly yellow, it could also be a magnesium deficiency. And a way to fix that will be to just mix up some Epsom salts, dissolve it in some water, and then bottom water your plant if they're in pots. If not, out of the direct sunlight, you can spray the leaves and around the base. It will take the magnesium sulfate straight into the leaves and also absorb it into the roots, and that should stop the leaves curling and going yellow at the same time. Now, if you reach a problem, which you probably will during summer, where you can see that your leaves are curling upwards quite a lot, or even curling and rolling like that, basically trying to show the underside of that leaf, that's because that plant is too hot and it's trying to stop photosynthesis on the leaf. The plant is stressed. It will either try to turn the leaf or it will roll itself inwards. It's basically just trying to protect itself. So the plant is way too hot. Or if it's not that case, it could be that it, like here, it's too windy wherever you've put it. So obviously fixes for that are going to be, if they're in pots, put them in the shade or take them out of the wind. And then you can put them in the shade and you can spray the leaves with water, because there's no direct sunlight on them, so it's not going to burn the leaves at the same time. The problem with that type of leaf curl is that once they've curled up, they won't uncurl again. So you need to spot that straight away, because if all the leaves on your plant curl up, then that plant is not going to make flowers, it is not going to produce fruit, and it could even die. But if you see a few, you could cut them away. Take them away from the plant, because as I said, curled up because of heat, wind stress, will not uncurl again. If you've got quite a lot of them and they're all on the top and it's a pepper plant, try topping your pepper like we've done on a recent video, which was actually this plant. We topped it, left barely anything on it if you've seen that video, and you can see what's happened. It's produced all new growth all around. So if you do spot that curling up process on your leaves, you need to get on that straight away. Take them out of the sun or shield them if they're in the ground with something, because it's a combination of the heat and the light that's causing them to do that. Also, another reason for that happening could be that you've not hardened your plants off properly. If you're growing these under lights, the lights are no comparison to direct sunlight. So you need to be taking your plants outside for an hour or so every day. But just so they get used to that, they'll get used to the wind factor at the same time. And you can give them an hour in the sun, an hour out of the sun, and then take them back where they were once you've done that. And you need to do that for about a week, and that's called hardening off your plant. So that could also be another reason that your leaves are curling up. But the problem will still be the same. If all your leaves do curl up, they won't uncurl. And another reason that causes leaf curling that is actually fixable is when your plants are starting to get a bit root bound, which is mainly the roots starting to wrap around the bottom, and they'll continue to do that and tangle themselves up, and that's going to cause that plant to stress. It's because the plant needs potting on, and you'll see to some degree leaves will start curling, but you've only got to take it out of a pot and have a look, or watch for the roots coming out the bottom. But at least that is fixable. Just pot it on and it'll be fine. Untangle the roots a little bit as well when you do that. So that's just a few things that I thought might be worth going over. As we start approaching summer, the temperatures are going to get hotter and the light levels are going to be higher. So you need to just make sure that your plants are hardened off, or if they are hardened off and they're in a greenhouse and you start seeing any of these things that we've discussed, you'll now know what's causing it and how to fix it. So it might be worth coming back to this video if you see any little problems like that, just so you can diagnose properly what problem that you've got by which way the leaves are curling. Anyway, thank you very much for watching that video, really appreciate it. And if you want to see more as we go through the end of springer and into summer, just hit that subscribe button and press that notifications bell, and we'll see you at next video. You all take care, thank you.